Recently, after listening to two of my daughters catalog my failings as a parent, I was thinking about my parents and how they had erred, and it kept me from becoming a great athlete. You see, my father had erred by having a mother who died when he was 3 years old. And as a young boy, my father had to carry my grandfather home drunk most nights. At 15, he quit school and had a series of factory and truck driving jobs. So he never put in the time to learn a sport he could pass down to his son. He died when I was 9 years old, and my mother, also very irresponsible, had never played any sports at all and gave me two very non-athletic sisters to accompany me through life. So I was at a loss with no uncles or male cousins around. My father gave me my first baseball glove when I was about 7. It was a used old catcher's mitt. And I can remember him rolling grounders to me and me trying to field them with the catcher's mitt. If you know anything about baseball, you're shaking your head right now and saying, you don't field grounders with a catcher's mitt. But even when I got a real glove, I continued to do that. And so I became one of the worst fielders you ever saw. In schoolyard stickball, a little bit later in my life, I had the ability to try and catch pop fly balls. The ball would hit my hand and go 10 feet up in the air. My frustrated teammates would always come right close to me whenever a ball was coming my direction, hoping to catch the rebound and get the out. I mean, I should have been better at sports. I mean, I was tall for my age and had some dexterity and some hand-eye coordination, but I just never got the proper training. And then, when I was 14, I was introduced to a street sport that changed all that, and it came at a very good time. You see, up until that point, if you were slow of foot or couldn't field, couldn't hit, whenever schoolyard teams were chosen, you got to be either left out or the last one picked. It was a very aggressive and frustrating experience. So all of a sudden, half-ball came into my life. Now, half-ball is a game that is unknown in most places in the world, other than around the Boston area. And it's played with a rubber ball, is the first thing you need, usually a pink rubber ball. But if you had an extra dime back then, you could buy the ultimate, which was a white pimple ball. Then you needed either a razor or a sharp knife, which we had in abundance in East Boston. You would take that and slice the ball down the seam, split it in half, and yes, you got the precursor to a frisbee. This object, when thrown, produced some of the greatest curveballs ever seen. And when thrown as a fastball down the middle of the plate, gave you 50% chance less to hit it. All you needed to play was that and a standard mop or broomstick, which we usually stole from our parents' house. It was played in the streets, basically a one-way street. The batter would stand on one side of the curb, have enough room to swing so he didn't hit cars around him. The pitcher was on the opposite curb, throwing that curve and fielding his position. A single was when the ball hit the opposite curb behind the pitcher. A double was below the first floor window and on up until home runs hit the third floor of the triple-decker. The only obstacles to this game were people who objected that their cars were being hit by the ball or the stick, or the residents of those three-deckers who were part of our green monster and sometimes objected to that. You could play this game with just 3 people, a catcher, a pitcher, and a hitter, and each one represented their own team. But the best layout was a pitcher and a catcher on one team, and things went along smoothly, and it had a great time. But I really appreciated the part of the game that allowed you to just relax and talk and greet people who walked by in the neighborhood. And it reminded me, as I think back of it now, as a sort of a teenager's version of playing bocce, because you could talk to people. The game didn't suffer if you decided to run into Bootsy's corner store and buy a Coke or flirt with the girls who walked by. We even played with the Viggy and Bishi, 2 of the guys who ran numbers in the coffee shop across the street. It was an atmosphere that you could relax in. You hung out on this corner. People knew you, you knew them. We were free of the tension and the bravado of the schoolyard. We were allowed to be ourselves, to enjoy ourselves. And through that, I became a better hitter, a better pitcher, maybe a better person. And my parents raised me in East Boston, and for that, they didn't fail me. Thank you.